Hi, and welcome once again to another video where I will tell you the 6 best ideas and key things we could implement to change, improve, and make the knowledge easier in these current circumstances. My name is Dean Warrington, and I have been teaching the knowledge and driving a taxi since 1996. So here I am again to reiterate some ideas and introduce some new ones. But before I start, I want to mention some of the counter-arguments from people who feel that these are bad ideas. Firstly, they seem to argue I have my own self-interests at heart. So I'd like to point out that this does nothing in terms of a counter-argument and offers nothing in terms of a solution. There are 3 reoccurring counter-arguments. The first is the garages will benefit if we change things. The trade organisations will benefit if we change things. And the schools will benefit if we change things. So don't change anything. They are all in it for themselves. The second thing is, I did it that way, so why shouldn't they? The problem with this is we didn't all do it this way. The knowledge has undergone small incremental changes over the past 30 years, all of which have made the knowledge progressively harder and take longer. But we should unwind some of those changes to at least the standard of 15 years ago. Thirdly, we are an institution and a gold standard and the world's most overqualified taxi drivers and have no need to change. Or as a subcontext, no need to reduce the standard or make it easier. What does gold standard even mean? And being an institution will not stop us from disappearing. And in truth, both of these are abstract concepts because we are not a registered institution and we receive no award for gold standards. So what I see from these counter-arguments is no solutions are offered, and basically we have the ideology of climate change deniers. In front of our eyes, the knowledge is dying, and their solution is let's do nothing. At the current rate of decline, this time next year there will be 300 people doing the knowledge. How low do you think it should go before we try to improve and save the situation? So I figure all cab drivers have 2 simple questions to answer. Do you think the knowledge will have enough students this time next year? If you said yes to question 1, can you give some reasoning and evidence to reinforce that argument? And 2, if you agree the knowledge is dwindling fast, do you want to save the knowledge to allow it to continue? And if you said yes to question 2, how do you propose to save it other than the things I propose here? And outside these 2 issues, if you have nothing to bring to the table, then sit back and say nothing, because you just add to the cloudiness. Emotional knee-jerk reactions are not helpful and do absolutely nothing to address the issue of knowledge student numbers. So if you want to contribute to the debate, put forward articulate and thought-out ideas so we can have a discussion. So as I mentioned, there are 6 key things that I think are possible changes and ideas to improve the knowledge and make it enticing for people to want to start doing the knowledge once again. And from a PR perspective, we need to exclaim and promote that the knowledge is getting easier. The first thing is pretty much happening, but it's been postponed for a while because TfL has been swayed by the current furore, which is to reduce the amount of suburb runs and the amount of time it takes to complete them, so the candidates can get out on the road sooner. This seems to be about to be implemented, but has for the moment succumbed to the backlash. A backlash that I might add has 0 reasoning and in most instances is based upon the sole argument that we must not say the knowledge is getting easier. And this is what we absolutely must be saying. What they need to argue is how these suggestions diminish the standard, and if they believe they do diminish the standard, then to what degree. The second idea is to get rid of redlining or change it by degree and stop redlining back a whole level. My preference is to get rid of it completely. And the only argument against that seems to be that those who feel it would be unfair as they had to do it, so why shouldn't you? This argument has nothing to do with the proposed change causing a drop in standard, but more to do with selfish envy. The third thing is stop or reduce the amount of technical questions that can be asked per appearance. These kind of questions do increase your knowledge, but in reality contribute little or nothing to your working capability. They do raise us to a higher standard, but it is a modern era thing, and with an ever-diminishing pool of people on the knowledge, it is not necessary or viable, and only started happening in the last 15 years or so. The fourth thing would be to reduce the amount of days between appearances. For example, no 56s, just 28s, 21s and 14s, or create some freedom of choice that the student can use to suit their circumstances. This idea I saw on one of the posts from Simon at UTAG, and it really is an excellent idea. It makes the knowledge easier, quicker, and cannot be attributed to making the standard less. You still need to pass your appearances. The fifth idea won't happen because it has one major hurdle. Take away the fees and return to the taxi drivers funding the knowledge from their license fees. The reason the fees were introduced is because taxi drivers did not want to fund the knowledge department. The knowledge department needs around £1 million per year to operate. But I do not think enough taxi drivers are going to be willing to pay extra in their license fees in our attempts to save the knowledge itself. And finally, the sixth idea is that TfL makes stricter rules to define the separation between taxis and private hire. Make the benefits and perks more distinguishable from PHV. And on this subject is why you should join one of the trade organisations, so they can articulate the best approach and demands. That's what they're good at, and this aspect is not my department at all, as some of the tweets pointed out that I personally should have done more to stop the private hire problem. I need to apologise to those people. That is not my department. This is not what I do or focus my energies on. Join a trade organisation. The poorest arguments of all are the ones that attack a person, attack an organisation, or attack the fleets, or claim some vested interest or ulterior motive and not having altruistic values. These kind of arguments are not solutions, they are just the manifestations of envy and fear. Every single one of us in this trade has a vested interest, all of us, so it's a completely moot point. My biggest fear is our trade becomes like the gondolas of Venice or the horse and carts of Central Park. The changes being proposed do not even take the knowledge back to the standard of 15 years ago. Stop fighting against change and start taking control so you at least can contribute to the change. From my perspective, from my experience, from what I know and see, the knowledge will end unless we change something. So if your main concern is that the fleet owners will benefit and get richer, if we get more people on the knowledge, or the schools or me personally will get richer if more people do the knowledge, and the trade organisations will get more members if more people do the knowledge, then change nothing, because that issue is obviously important to you. But if your concern is to save the knowledge, then you need to look at genuine solutions rather than ad hominem attacks on individuals or groups that have absolutely nothing to do with the issue at hand. After all, the reason the new suburbs have been put on hold is due to the power of one or two trade organisations. So this highlights their power and the reasons you should join them. I don't agree with what they have achieved in this instance, but having a collective voice is more powerful. You cannot, on one hand, say the game is dead and complain publicly about your income and then get upset that the knowledge tries to adapt to these new circumstances of a dead game. Many of you say TfL should promote the knowledge. How? How can they promote the knowledge? Do they say, do the knowledge? It will take a long time and you won't earn very much money, but when you pass, you can be proud of yourself for achieving a gold standard and being part of an institution. I know they've tried their best to promote the knowledge and instigate ideas, but really, go straight to the professionals. The best way to promote the knowledge is to fund the people at London Taxi PR. They are the ones who can do this. So become a sponsor. Don't just sit back, make a regular donation. Because if the drivers are saying they're not earning enough, then what's the enticement? Why would you want to do the knowledge? If you think that the new suburbs and the removing of redlining and new rules on questions will really diminish the knowledge, then I need to point you back in time to 15 years ago when exactly that was happening. Out of all these changes, the only one that would be truly different is the shorter intervals between appearances. That would be innovative. Everything else suggested is just what existed 15 or so years ago. None of the changes are drastic. So many comments are being made without any effort to understand the facts. No knowledge, students, means no knowledge. It will be replaced with a financial system of buying your badge like other cities in the world. Talk about solutions, ask questions, state your opinion, but base it on some form of reality and facts. And then let's work together to conclude what is the best plan of action for our industry. I have no doubt there will be a meeting soon amongst all the relative bodies to address the knowledge as it currently stands. You need to get behind your relative organisation and let them know your opinions so they can put your case at that meeting. If you are not a member of any organisation, then please be content that all these organisations have all taxi drivers' best interests at heart and accept the outcome, because no action is the end. On an additional note, we have made some progress. I have been taking applications and sending them on to TfL, who have then been sending those application forms out to candidates that want to do the knowledge. So we are doing our bit from this end to try to promote and get people to start the knowledge. It has been pretty much impossible to get an application form up until now, and now we have a process in place. So if you want to apply to do the knowledge, then email me. The email address is on the screen now. It's dean@wizann.co.uk, and I will get you an application form sent through.